Good morning. It's November 29th, and this is your daily brief in climate change. Here's everything you need to know. A new report from the University of Delaware highlights the significant impact of climate change on the global economy, with a 6.3% reduction in global economic output last year. Low-income countries and tropical regions experienced the greatest economic losses from climate change. Some developed countries saw temporary benefits, but these are expected to be outweighed by hotter summers. The report calls for urgent action to support vulnerable countries and increased funding for climate adaptation projects, particularly in Africa. African youth are demanding more funding from developed countries to combat increasing temperatures, severe weather events, and a chronic lack of funds for adaptation. The lack of funding in Africa hinders efforts to address the effects of climate change, leading to displacement and conflicts over resources. The upcoming COP28 conference is expected to address these disparities and increase adaptation finance for Africa. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed a comprehensive clean energy legislation aiming to make the state carbon-free by 2040. The plan mandates utility providers to transition to 100% carbon-free energy by 2040 and generate 50% of energy from renewable sources by 2030. The package includes bills that enhance energy efficiency requirements and simplify permitting processes for solar and wind projects. Despite concerns about the inclusion of fossil fuels and carbon capture technology, the plan is expected to create over 160,000 clean jobs. The success of this plan could potentially impact the Democratic Party in the 2024 elections. The clean energy package is seen as a significant step towards reversing environmental neglect, bolstering Michigan's green economy, and leading climate action in the U.S. The Cadman Glacier on the Antarctic Peninsula is rapidly melting due to warmer oceans. Between November 2018 and May 2021, the glacier retreated 8 kilometers because of an ice shelf collapse. This collapse, caused by warmer ocean waters, has doubled the glacier's speed and increased ice discharge into the sea. The glacier is in a state of substantial dynamic imbalance, losing about 20 meters of elevation per year and shedding 2.16 billion metric tons of ice into the ocean annually. This collapse could signal a tipping point for glaciology, with other glaciers in the Antarctic Peninsula potentially vulnerable to similar changes. Researchers emphasize the need for comprehensive ocean-observing networks to monitor the impact of warming oceans on glaciers and global sea level rise. Coastal flooding has significantly increased in the past 20 years due to rising sea levels, exposing an additional 14 million people to risk. If greenhouse gas emissions persist at the current rate, flood-prone population could surge to 73 million by the end of the century. Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia are the most vulnerable regions due to their low-lying areas. Without shoreline defenses, cities like Guayaquil, Rio de Janeiro, and Sydney could be permanently below sea level by the end of the century. Urgent action to reduce emissions and mitigate climate change risks is essential to prevent a human development reversal in coastal communities. Global average temperature continues to rise, with complex life unable to adapt to a 4 degrees Celsius increase. France is struggling to limit the temperature rise to 2.5 to 3 degrees Celsius, but may need to prepare for a rise to 4 degrees C. A 4 degrees C increase could cause irreversible changes like rainforests turning into savannas and accelerated polar ice cap melting. The UN's Paris Climate Accord aimed to slow greenhouse gas emissions, but few countries have met their commitments. Some companies are increasing investment in fossil fuels and toxic chemicals, exacerbating the problem. To prevent further climate damage, drastic cuts in emissions and accountability for banks and corporations are needed. Without action, huge threats such as uncontrollable wildfires, massive crop failures, epidemics, and unprecedented human migrations could occur. This has been your daily brief in climate change. To read more about these stories, follow the links in the episode bio. You can also subscribe to these updates at www.briefs.news. And for more daily podcasts about the topics you love, visit www.brief.news/podcasts. Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back with everything you need to know.